Peru has put its former president Alejandro Toledo on the most wanted list after a judge issued an international arrest warrant. Toledo's accused of receiving millions of dollars in bribes from Brazilian construction giant Odebrecht. It's part of a widening corruption scandal that's engulfing the continent, with Colombia's president also facing allegations this week from a political rival. Arabella Munro reports.
Peru's Christ of the Pacific stands above the capital, resembling its more famous cousin in Rio de Janeiro. That's no accident. This 37-meter-high statue was a gift, costing nearly $1 million, and most of that was paid for by Brazil's Odebrecht. Now it's a target for people's anger. This graffiti says, "Odebrecht, get out of the country." Former President Alejandro Toledo, who was in office from 2001 to 2006, signed an infrastructure agreement with the Brazilian construction giant. Now, the former shoeshine boy who became a president is accused of taking $20 million in bribes from Odebrecht. And a judge has ordered he come back to Peru and face investigation from prison.
Preventive prison for a period of 18 months against the plaintiff Alejandro Toledo Manrique, and as he's currently free, he should be located, captured and imprisoned in a Peruvian penitentiary immediately. To that end, national and international orders are to be presented.
Prosecutors searched Toledo's house after finding around $11 million allegedly transferred from Odebrecht to offshore accounts linked to one of his associates. The former president, who is believed to be in France, denies all charges.
We want to appeal and have it heard by the Superior Court. Meanwhile, I recommend my client not to present himself before this threat and this judicial campaign launched today by this judge.
Prosecutors say the bribes were in return for 2 contracts that helped pave the way for the interoceanic highway, connecting Peru's Pacific ports to Brazil's Atlantic shore. The final price tag, $1.3 billion. Odebrecht says it paid $29 million to Peruvian officials between 2005 and 2014. And the timing implicates Toledo's successors too, turning public opinion sour. Current President Pedro Pablo Kuczynski served as finance minister and then prime minister under Toledo when the contracts were awarded.
The prosecutors must explain these allegations. There are legal proceedings, and as I said the other day, I hope that he comes and answers to these allegations before the prosecutors.
Odebrecht has admitted to paying hundreds of millions of dollars to secure contracts across a dozen countries. A wrecking ball that's destroying the reputations of politicians across Latin America. Arabella Munro, TRT World.
Let's take a look at the sheer scale of this now. 10 of the 12 countries involved in the Odebrecht bribery scandal are in Latin America, from Brazil to Mexico, and 2 in Africa, Angola and Mozambique. In total, Odebrecht has admitted to paying $788 million in bribes to officials for around 100 construction projects. The US Department of Justice says governments often overpaid for the work. Joining me now live from Miami is our editor-at-large, Craig Capeters. Craig, as always, thanks ever so much for joining us. In Arabella's package there, she called the Odebrecht scandal a wrecking ball. Others in Latin America are calling it a virus. How are people reacting to it where you are?
Well, I spent the morning with some Brazilian bankers. You know, there are about 75,000 Brazilians living here in southern Florida. And one of them described it as a flesh-eating virus that feasts on politicians and is going to be eating more. But as you really have to look at the size and scope of this thing, I mean, great report by Arabella, but it's even bigger than that. The U.S. Attorney's Office that went after Odebrecht here in the United States says that the company actually maintained a specific business unit for bribery. Now, can you imagine the job interview to go to work for that unit?
And the thing is, Craig, that's actually not unique among companies, is it? I mean, a lot of companies have been found to be doing exactly the same thing. Going back,
the size, as No, I'm sorry. The size of this, I mean, the size is remarkable. Yeah. The Swiss government actually did a study of the numbers, and they maintain that for each $1 million that Odebrecht passed out in bribery generated $4 million in profit.
Wow.
That is huge. I've never actually seen anything of that scale before.
No, that is massive. You're right. Going to the other part of this story now, Panamanian authorities have raided the offices of Mossack Fonseca, a name that you probably remember, Craig, because you were there in Panama last year, because that was the law firm at the center of the Panama Papers leaks scandal. Now, were there signs when you covered the story at the initial leaks that Odebrecht had been involved in this scandal?
Odebrecht was listed on some of the, millions of documents that were in there, but there were no specifics. What's fascinating, what we're seeing now, is that Panama is going after Odebrecht for setting up bogus companies in Panama and elsewhere to bribe officials in Panama to obtain Panamanian government contracts between 2010 and 2014. So this virus is now even infecting the once sacrosanct concept of the offshore company in the country of Panama, which of course is one of their main hard currency earners.
Wonderful. Craig Capetas in Miami, thanks ever so much. A story we're going to be following very closely in the future.